Now we are starting a little late, 5 after 2. Hey, Hawaiian time, right? Yeah. Now, I want to start by welcoming you. Thank you so much for coming to the Hawaiian Electric Forum. I am Elizabeth Lewis. I am brand new to Hawaiian Electric, 2 weeks old. I am the new solar support specialist. So I'm going to be very transparent and tell you that I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot from you, and I'm learning a lot from Hawaiian Electric. I'm taking the place of Natasha, who used to be here, and boy, do I have some shoes to fill, right? And a steep learning curve. But like I said, I'm learning, and I'm very eager to learn. But I do have a little bit of solar knowledge, much like the layman does. But I also have had a business. I've had my own business for 20 years. I'm from the island of Quay, and I was in the scuba diving business. And so I'm very familiar with having to follow rules, abide by regulations. Also, I'm very familiar with how I have to feed my family, support my staff. And so with both said, I can be a very good liaison for both sides and be able to help out on both ways and both issues. So I want to be approachable and have you come to me with any questions so that I can provide solutions. Now, just a little bit of information for this area. If anyone has to use the restroom, it's down the hall. There is a code. The code is posted here at 7896. Men and women out here. We also have a couple of coolers in the back that have water. So please feel free to have a bottle of water. And if everyone has their cards with their questions on them, please pass them to the right side. We'll have somebody to come pick them up. See, I guess that's it for right now. I think what I'd like to do is to start by introducing Jim Alberts to welcome you. He's our Senior VP of Customer Service, and he's going to begin our forum.
All right, aloha everyone, thank you for coming. I've lived in Hawaii officially now for about 1 year, and all I can say is that I should have moved here sooner. It's a great place to be. For today, the overarching theme has to be two-way communication. So I know you've been busy filling out your cards and submitting questions, but when we get to the Q&A portion, that's probably the most valuable part of the day. We've got some information we'd like to present to you, and we think that'll be helpful. But ultimately, like I said, it comes down to those discussions and how we move forward together. And I think that's a key. If we do things in common and we address issues constructively, quickly, and upfront, we'll make great progress. And I'll give you an example. The issue we had around September 6th, where we made some process changes for the safety of our customers in the community. We've begun dialogue with HSEA and the PV Coalition in order to address those issues and resolve and move forward. And I think we'd like to do that more frequently as a company. So we invite this group and those groups together to engage with us on a more regular basis, because it's that conversation that will ultimately lead to our success. I would say that Hawaii has accomplished a lot. All you have to do is look at the facts that integrating renewables has really paved the way for the rest of the world here. Nobody else has encountered those kind of levels of integration. And I think what that means is that solutions may not always be readily available. early days, we can think of when those solutions were very commercially available, easily implemented, and we could work very quickly through those checkpoints. I think we're getting to the point now where we're going to have to continue to look for those options and solutions together. We'll have ideas, and you'll have some really great ideas, and I think together we'll be able to accomplish a lot. Again, I think it's going to take all of us to find the best path. If we stay focused on what's best for customers and our community regarding safety, our environment, and our economy, I think we'll all be very successful. So I look forward to a productive day, and now I'll call Ross.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Ross Sakuda. I'm the manager of system planning at Hawaiian Electric, and I'm going to be covering the interconnection policies. And I'm not going to read through this slide. I mean, this is just an overview of the evolution of our interconnection policy. It started with an initial rule that looked at 10% of the peak load. But as we learn more and more about interconnecting PV to our circuits, we were able to, through our experience and knowledge, the knowledge we gained through studies, we could gradually expand or increase the threshold by which studies were triggered. It went from 50% to 75%, and in our most recent announcement on September 6th, we advanced that to 100%. So in the September 6th announcement, I'm sure most of you are aware of the substance of that announcement. The key messages were that the penetration levels on our circuits were growing, and the number of circuits that were exceeding 100% of daytime minimum load was increasing. So to allow us to interconnect more PV, we did allow the threshold to increase from 75% of daytime minimum load to 100% of daytime minimum load. And if we were to study the circuits one by one, it would have taken us forever. I mean, as the process is, we do an initial review, initial technical review, and then where needed, we would do a supplemental review, and if it doesn't pass the supplemental review, it would go to an interconnection requirement study, or IRS. And if we did that one by one, it would have been impractical, because at one point there were over 70 circuits that we needed to study. So we took an alternative approach, and we basically grouped the circuits into two different types. One group being essentially all residential, and another group being a mix of residential and commercial. So with these, we're doing representative studies, and we'll apply the results of these studies to these two different groups. So because the penetration levels continue to increase, we do recommend that, or we did recommend in that announcement that people check the circuit status before contracting or installing. And everyone should submit a net energy metering agreement. So as far as the transition to the 100% of daytime minimum load, as I explained, we are doing these representative studies to speed up the process. And as part of the announcement, we did decide that Oahu customers with net energy metering applications for small systems less than 10 kilowatts, where those applications were submitted before September 6th, those could proceed without having to pay for studies or upgrade costs. So there are 4 circuits we're studying in this group studies or representative planning studies. And one is the Cavella circuit, and we've actually completed the study that pertains to the larger systems, or the feed-in tariff systems on that circuit. What we still need to do is study the impacts of the smaller net energy metered and standard interconnection agreement installations on that circuit. So we anticipate that we'll complete that by February 2014. And Cavella is a mixture of residential and commercial, and Mikilua and Mauka circuits are also a mixture of commercial and residential. Those studies are anticipated to be completed by February 2014. And finally, we have the Quay Helani study, which will study a circuit that has all residential net energy metered systems. And we anticipate completing that study by March 2014. The study is just one piece of the things we need to do. The study will determine what upgrades, if any, need to be done on this circuit. So once we have the results of the studies will identify what the potential issues are and what the potential upgrade measures should be. And from there, we will need to assess what would be appropriate for the circuits that we want to apply them to. And that's it for mine. And next up is Tanai Hanalau.
Just to interject for a moment, as you're filling out those cards, just be very concise on your question if you can, so that we can answer them after our presentations are done. We're going to do as much as we can with the Q&A portion, which is after Tanai gives his presentation. So please fill those out so that we can address the issues.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about net energy metering and just go over some basics. I think I know many of you in this room, and many of you are somewhat familiar with our process, so you may be familiar with certain things, and I'm going to highlight a few other things as well. So, as you all know, September 6th, there was an announcement that was made, and as we all know, PV has been going up anywhere and everywhere, and really a lot of these circuits that we have on our system right now have reached very high levels. And what we're asking people to do is to really check with us before you actually embark on installing a photovoltaic system. And the easiest way to do that is go to our LVNs online, and you can see that on our website. If you don't have access to a computer, you can always contact us on our net energy metering hotline or email us. And the locational value maps will essentially tell you what the circuit penetration is for that instant in time. And it's really intended as a heads up or a snapshot as to what you'll be facing. And the reason we have this is to really make customers aware as to what the circuit penetration is and what the next steps will be. And it's also very important that even after checking the locational value maps, that a formal NEM agreement be submitted to us, where we will in turn then start the formal review process. I wanted to talk a little bit about the circuit penetration levels and what they mean. And I'm going to really focus on the smaller systems, which are the Appendix 1s, as many of you know, the systems that are 10 kW or less, single phase, mostly residential systems. 100% or higher of a daytime minimum load means that it's going to fall into what we call an IRS, a representative study bucket, where, again, as Ross mentioned, we are starting on a few of these, and these studies will in turn tell us what the potential upgrades, if any, that are needed. The next category, 75 to 99% of daytime minimum load, there's no formal study required, but we do have it go through a little bit of an additional review process to determine if there will be any further upgrades that will be needed to allow that photovoltaic system to be interconnected. And less than 75% daytime minimum load, there's no study and no upgrades required. Again, once we receive the NEM agreement, we will in turn do this review, and a status letter will be sent out accordingly to both the customer and the contractor. Again, for Appendix 2s or systems that are greater than 10 kW, it's pretty much the same process. If many of you who have been doing these know that there's still a formal review process for all over 10 kW systems that needs to be done. And in all cases, I really wanted to emphasize that Hawaiian Electric does not recommend that customers install or energize PV systems until formal approval has been granted, for many other reasons that were just talked about a little earlier. And again, there was a release sent out to many contractors, I believe on October 22nd or 23rd, that kind of detailed a lot of the risks associated with going ahead, installing and energizing on high penetration circuits. Another area of concern is related to the customers that are in transition. And as many of you know, that NEM agreements that were submitted by September 6th have been what we call grandfathered, where they will be allowed to interconnect without any study or upgrade costs. And we're also currently working with the solar industry to determine a reasonable way to allow other customers who may have made some financial commitment prior to September 6th, whose NEM agreement did not make it in by that date. This is still being reviewed, and once a determination is made, I think it will be communicated out. Just a few other notes. From Hawaiian Electric's perspective, we really look at it as, our customers are also your customers, so it's very important that we give them the right and proper information. A few of the things that we have done on our side, the net energy metering team has, we've added more people, staff, to help deal with the inquiries and additional net energy metering agreements that have come our way recently. As far as the net meters go, a lot of times, some of the customers with digital meters are still getting meters replaced to net meters, and I wanted to emphasize that just having a meter change does not mean that the PV system has been approved. Lately, we've also been seeing some information being presented to us regarding battery backup systems, and this is something that is still under review at this time. And our net energy metering online, that we mentioned at our last forum back in, I think it was March or April, is still under progress. There's still some technicalities that we need to work out, but we anticipate having it ready first quarter of 2014. And I really wanted to talk about having NEM agreements submitted correctly to us. As you can imagine, you're probably one contractor. We deal with over 300 solar contractors, electricians, electrical contractors, and it's very time consuming to receive NEM agreements that are incorrect, incomplete, missing information, and then having to send them back. And basically, submitting NEM agreements properly the first time will really help us so we can help you. And some of the most frequent NEM errors that we see are on the slide. I mean, I won't read all of them, but again, it's just the information that, if given to us correctly the first time, will make it a lot easier to process and be more time efficient on our side.
Okay, at this point, hopefully we've been able to answer some questions, but we are still collecting those questions that you're filling out. If you still have them, please raise them up and we'll have somebody collect them from you. So at this point, we're going to bring up Jim Alberts again, and with him, he's going to be accompanied by Scott Sue. Sue is VP of the Energy Resources and Operations, and both of them are going to help us get some answers to our questions. Now, filling these cards out has been really helpful because, well, they're up front, they're right here, they're in black and white, we understand exactly what you're saying, and that way we can address the questions as they come in. Once we've gone through the cards, or if you additionally have more questions, please write them down. But given the time, if we do have time after we get through these cards, we'll open it up to Q&A after that, okay?